Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Scores of students barred from classes at the Seaview Gardens Primary and Infant School this morning due to protest. Councillors in Montego Bay to be fined for non-removal of political billboards. And later in sports, J3A's treasurer says local meets have been let down by lack of corporate support. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. The government says closer attention will be given to how markets are operated island-wide. It comes as vendors have taken over a number of the streets in major towns, causing a traffic pileup or a garbage nuisance. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie gave the indication in St. James recently. More in this report. It won't be business as usual in our markets. That's according to Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie. He was speaking at the recent sitting of the St. James Municipal Corporation, where he insisted that the current operational structure of the country's markets are outdated. Hence, he says new ways must be forged in the management of these critical infrastructure.
For many years, have deteriorated. 98% of our markets are over 100 years old. And we have to look at now whether or not the present method of how we operate markets in a modern age is the way for us to go.
Another issue is that of those who sell at the market. Mr. McKenzie says too often they are allowed to flout the laws governing the facilities, but that too will be no more.
But yet whenever you try to enforce, the argument comes that these are poor people trying to make a livelihood. And the mayor and the councillors, them wicked, and the municipal police officers, them wicked. Because they are trying to maintain public order.
It's why he says a no-nonsense approach will be taken in the coming months.
And even urge the shoppers not to engage with those who are selling in areas that are not designated for vending. And whilst we might all want the best of what is available, it's not going to work. And we need to pay much more attention to vending. Right now, the SDC is working on a program that we will roll out to engage vendors in all the parishes across Jamaica. But we cannot operate a municipality when law and order, which is one of our main portfolio, is being eroded.
Scores of students were barred from classes at the Seaview Gardens Primary and Infant School Monday morning. This as community residents and ancillary staff staged a protest over what they say is a poor treatment being meted out to them by the school's principal. Armed with placards and a padlocked gate, they called for the principal to be relieved of her duties. The staff members who did not speak to us on camera say their fortnightly pay has been short for several months. They are calling for the intervention of the Education Ministry. The Manchester Municipal Corporation has approved a motion brought by its chairman to address the drought conditions affecting the parish. At last Thursday's sitting of the corporation meeting, Chairman Donovan Mitchell noted that residents in the parish are in dire need of water. It's understood that the Hanbury Children's Home in the parish and the police station are among the entities also being seriously affected by the drought conditions.
The water allocation and the trucking of water to these communities must begin as soon as possible. Where we're taking the money from is because of emergency purposes and people are dying. I mean, people calling every single day. I see the Prime Minister of Jamaica had to recall Parliament to do something with budget and make announcement about water. But we don't know when we get in here. So while we are at Starving, right now the Hanbury home is out of water. Sometimes the police station, and you can have 90-odd prisoners and hoping to have 100 and odd in the next time. And the schools, and to be waiting on approval from up top and all of that.
The National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, is reporting that the fire and smoke situation at the Riverton disposal site in St. Andrew has been resolved. The blaze, which started last week, left the corporate area blanketed with smoke for days, causing concern in several sectors. Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, Audley Gordon, says operations at the Riverton City Disposal site in St. Andrew have almost returned to normal following last week's fire and subsequent smoke nuisance that affected air quality. Teams from the NSWMA have been using cover material to smother the remnants of the fire. After a week of smoke across the corporate area and part of St. Catherine on Monday, Mr. Gordon told TVJ News the situation has been resolved.
If one should do a drone flyover of the disposal site, you probably will see some little semblance of smoke here and there, a little bit, hardly noticeable. But you probably will see, and you will still see our crew doing some sealing work in terms of some finding little pores here and putting dirt on it still. But largely we are back to normal.
The fire started at the edge of the disposal site on Tuesday afternoon. An investigation has not yet determined how it started. That sparks from a bushfire that was near to the Riverton City Disposal site started the blaze last week.
We are still conducting our investigation. The suspicion is that it may have been caused by bushfires that were burning in close proximity, and so sparks on that would have traveled through the landfill. That is the suspicion that we have right now. It hasn't been confirmed yet, so we are hoping that not too long from now we can confirm that.
Two businesses in St. James are counting losses after fire destroyed their operations early this morning. According to reports, the fire started a few minutes before 5 o'clock. It's understood that the fire started in a cash pot establishment, then spread to an adjoining warehouse. When a news team arrived on the scene, firefighters were carrying out cooling down operations. Stephen, the owner of the warehouse, says not much was saved.
The fire just spread and we opened the warehouse, we couldn't go in because there was too much smoke. And the firemen, they were very good. They just jumped onto it, put on their mask and tried to contain the fire. But unfortunately, nothing much could be saved. As you can see, most of the appliances got burnt. So we're trying to see now how to best dispose them off or to salvage what can be salvaged.
He's estimating over $40 million in damage, noting that the appliances and furniture were not insured. In the meantime, the owner of the cash pot establishment says there is no estimate to his losses at this time. Chief Health Inspector for St. Mary Rupert Stevens says residents should brace for trucked water becoming the norm as the parish grapples with the ongoing drought condition. He says the health department is looking at adopting the practice of licensing trucks to sell drinking water.
The health department there has been licensing trucks involved in the haulage and distribution for sale of drinking water. And I think that is commendable on the part of the health department in Westmoreland in its interpretation of the legislation, the food handling regulations, which includes drinking water as food.
Now, he says the St. Mary Municipal Corporation in the past drafted regulations to issue a license for the trucking of drinking water and will be revisited.
Those regulations would be more specific to the process, notwithstanding the fact that until those regulations would have been promulgated into law, there are other regulations, such as that which I just mentioned, the food handling regulations of 1998, where we can use that to monitor and manage the process of the chucking of drinking water.
And it's time for a break here on the Midday News, but stay with us, more stories when we return. Welcome back to the Midday News. Mayor of Port Maria, Fitzroy Wilson, says plans are in the pipeline to make the town more accessible to persons with disabilities, especially the visually impaired. Mr. Wilson was speaking at Thursday's sitting of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation meeting. The mayor says too many sidewalks in the capital do not provide access for these individuals. He says something must be done for them to be facilitated.
We want to lead by example, and especially this area from the council gate out to Cox Street. We're in short order. We expect all those breaking in the sidewalks, we expect to repair them and put ramps so that wheelchair access and will be allowed to come here. Also in the town, we're looking at similar thing for the sidewalks in the capital, that the sidewalks will be so upgraded to allow for the people with disability to traverse the town.
Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon, has issued a warning to councillors in the parish to have their political billboards removed. This as a grace period for removal following February's local government poll has passed.
A few weeks ago, we asked that in an effort to clean up the township, that all political paraphernalia be removed. And that was in the papers, asking colleagues across both aisles to remove their political paraphernalia from the space. It was brought to my attention that there are still some out there.
It's why he has tasked the CEO of the municipal corporation to charge any councillor, including himself, effective immediately for non-removal.
And if any is there that belongs to me, please send me my bill, and send the bill to all the persons with associated political paraphernalia, because we need to clean up the town space.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Jamaica's spending on imports from the European Union amounted to $530.9 million for January to November 2023. That's a 23.4% increase when compared to the $430.1 million in 2022 for the similar period. Statin says this was due primarily to higher imports of machinery and transport equipment, food and manufactured goods. Spending on machinery and transport equipment amounted to $183.1 million, an increase of 54.7%. Imports of food were valued at $110.6 million, up from $101.9 million in the comparable 2022 period. Now, imports of manufactured goods were valued at $72.7 million, 22.8% above January to November 2022. Further afield, the UK economy grew slightly in February, increasing hopes it is on its way out of recession. The economy grew by 0.1%, official figures show, boosted by production and manufacturing in areas such as the car industry. However, the Office for National Statistics (ONS) says construction was dampened by wet weather. This is an early estimate, but signals show the UK, which entered recession at the end of 2023, is faring. And that's it for the Business Minute. And we now go overseas for the top regional and international. And we head to a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Ford will have your midday sports report.